Alright guys, welcome to the second video of the Hunter Guide series. Today's video is going to be about Beast Baek. The summon video is already out on the channel for those who want to check it out. And yeah, let's get right into it. So, Beast Baek is a single target dark DPS that inflicts damage to himself to boost his stats even more and deal even more damage, right? His weapon is currently bugged, so I'll talk about it later on, but we haven't been able to test him to his max potential because of that. Um, he's not great for gates, in my opinion. He's not great when there's too many enemies, but he's gonna be great for bosses most likely. So like if there's a dark, weak boss and all that, he's probably gonna be great. And yeah, let's check his skills. I find Baek's kit pretty cool, honestly. He's built towards basic attacks and also bleed, alright? So his basic attack is just high damage basic attacks if you take the average for hunters. Same for his core attack, it's high damage but no effects. First skill again, no effects but still high damage, and the second skill, his buff skills, is where it gets cool. So it deals few damage, but it's pretty negligible, and it gives himself the extreme attack beast form buff, which applies super armor and increases his basic attack damage and attack speed by 30%. So it's a huge buff, like that's one of the best buffs there is right now on the game. But there is two problems to that. First, you'll increase your damage taken by 15%, so you get hit harder, and you will deal continuous damage equal to 4% of your current HP every 3 seconds to yourself. So you will buff your damage by a lot, but you will also get hit a lot harder. So 15 damage increase on yourself, and also DOT damage. Those you can't even dodge them, right? Because like damage taken increase, you can still dodge the attacks from the enemy. This DOT damage, you can't even dodge it. Like you will lose HP no matter what. The support skill is probably the best support skill there is right now on the game. So it will give Jinwoo a 20% attack buff. Like I don't know if people understand how big 20% is. Honestly, it's huge. And also it will increase the damage taken by 10%. So that's same thing, the counterpart to the huge buff. You'll get hit harder, but I feel like on Jinwoo it's not that bad. It's pretty easy to dodge whenever you use Jinwoo, I feel like, because Baek's moving speed is terrible, but Jinwoo's is pretty fine, so like dodging and everything is not that bad. For the QT skill, it's just damage, same as the other skill he has. And then the ult is big damage. It's a higher percentage than choice ult for the same level, and it increases the damage dealt by 10% for every 10% of the HP lost. So you will lose HP by playing the character, because whenever you buff yourself and everything, you'll lose HP. But when you're gonna use your ult, it's gonna benefit you, right? So you want to lose HP with Baek, not to the point where you die, obviously, but still to deal big damage with the ult. So the passive now. The user's skill damage increases equal to 50% of the user's reduced HP ratio. So same as the ult, the more you're low on health, the more damage you will deal. Whenever you use your core attack or your first basic skill, it will inflict bleed to the target, which deals DOT damage over time, equals to 1% of the current HP of the target every 3 seconds. So it's pretty cool on bosses that have a lot of HP. It doesn't work on the dragon though, sadly, but yeah. The skill damage the user deals to targets inflicted with bleed with his basic attack and also core attack is increased by 20%. So that's what I meant when I said there was no effects on the basic attacks themselves. It's buffed from the passive. When the user uses the buff, it increases his critical hit rate and critical hit damage by 3% every 1 second for 10 seconds. So whenever you use your buff, each second after that, you will gain 3% crit damage and hit rate, right? And when you get to the 10 seconds, you will have 30% of each, and then you will lose everything once the buff wears off, right? The second dupe increases your HP by 10%. You kind of need to have a lot of HP with him as he gets hit a lot, so you kind of have to survive. The third one is probably the best one. Increase the basic and core attack damage by 40%. Oh, sorry, it increases the effect to 40%, so from 20 to 40. The fourth one is increase the basic attack damage by 40% again. So that's huge as well. And the fifth one is the user's skill damage increased proportionally to 80% of the user's reduced HP ratio. Overall, a pretty refreshing and interesting kit. I like it a lot, honestly, the fact that it's more about basic and core attacks than just ult and skills like Choi was. But it might not be perfect. Maybe some lifesteal would have been good in there, but it's definitely not bad. And now I'll show you the artifacts. For the artifacts, I feel like it's pretty straightforward. And like honestly, I don't think there's anything else better than this. Solid Foundation. Increase the user's basic attack damage by 18%, just as his passive, right? So more damage again. And increases the user's core attack damage by 18%. And when an attack hits, charges the user's core gauge by 60. So whenever you're gonna attack, you're gonna charge your gauge faster, and you're gonna have your core attack faster, and your core attack deals so much damage that it's just insane, honestly. So very good set for him. I don't think there's any other hunter worth using with that set, so we probably have a lot of pieces of that. So it's probably pretty easy to build for everyone right now. And the jewelry set, honestly, it's not a jewelry set that I like, but on him it makes a lot of sense, which is the Berserker, sorry, jewelry set, which when the user's HP is below 70%, the damage dealt is increased by 30%. So you're gonna be low on HP a lot with Baek, so it makes sense, and like the 30% damage increase is pretty huge. Otherwise, maybe you could run Expert for like the attack boost with the crits, right? But I feel like overall, Solid Foundation in the Berserker set is probably the best combo. For the substats, like let's say you have 5 substat slots, right? Like I mean, you have 5 substat slots, so let's say the perfect thing would be probably both attack substats. Then you would want a crit substat. So on the left side you want crit hit rate. On the right side you want crit hit damage. And then for the last 2 substats, I think I would go with HP substats, honestly, because like you want his HP to be as high as possible so you don't die too soon, right? Because like if the fight takes long, like it takes a long time, right? You're gonna lose a lot of HP each time you buff yourself. So I feel like high HP is necessary on him. So that's probably how I would build him. I tried this build and worked really well. His damage when he crits are pretty huge. And yeah, I think honestly it's probably the best build for him. I don't think anything else is gonna come out as good, right? And now let's talk about weapons. As I mentioned in the intro, his weapon is currently bugged, right? So it's supposed to increase his basic attack damage by 20%. And also, whenever a basic attack hits, take damage equal to 0.5% of current HP. So another thing that makes him lose HP, right? But deals damage equal to 0.35% of the target's current HP as well. So you will inflict damage to yourself, but also will inflict more damage to the enemy. Why am I saying that it is bugged? Is because if you are using his weapon right now, whenever you apply bleed, thanks to his passive, the next hit you do with this weapon will remove the bleed. It's not intended, as it removes damage, obviously. So like whenever you apply bleed, you will remove it instantly after. So your damage will be nerfed, as the passive that it boosts your damage on bleed units will be inactive, right? So that's the problem right now with him. So let's hope it gets fixed, because once it gets fixed, you can use his weapon and he's gonna be a beast, right? Other weapons you could use, the archer's weapon's not too bad, right? Because increases dark damage by 4%. But the best one is probably the SR Steel Dagger, increases the user's basic attack damage by 16%. So it's just 4% less than the exclusive weapon. Also, you miss this part of the passive, but it's kind of the same, and you get still stats if you have it maxed. So that's probably what I would run on him right now. But whenever they fix his weapon, it's gonna be way better. One thing I wanted to add is the priority of increasing his skill level, right? So I would go with his basic and core attack first, followed by his first basic skill. I think that's the 3 things you absolutely want to upgrade. The second skill you don't really need to, because it doesn't change the buff, it just changes the few damage that it deals. So then fourth, I would go for probably the ult and then the QTE, following by the support, and lastly that one. Because on the Choi video, I didn't mention that, and I feel like it's pretty useful as well. And now let's get into the gameplay. So as I mentioned, his exclusive weapon is bugged, so I won't be running it. I'm running the SR weapon. So let's go. He's pretty slow. That's the only problem I have with him right now. But his gameplay is pretty cool. Honestly, you just buff, honestly, and start dealing damage. So you would do the basic skill first to apply bleed, and then straight up damage. And it's pretty straightforward, right? You just hit over and over again. But the damage are honestly insane. You can see whenever I buff myself, right? The buffs below me, like 8, 9, 10, those are the crit damage and crit rate. And then it goes away after the 10 seconds. But yeah, honestly, he's pretty fun to use. And as you can see, as long as you dodge, the damage you deal to yourself aren't that bad. Next time I buff, I'm gonna let the bear hit me, so I can be low for the ult. So I'll let him hit me. Well, he's not hitting that much, but... Alright, so I think I'm low enough, so I'll just wait for the other buff and then ult. I'll get hit here too. Alright, so buff. That. And then ult. Honestly, his ult damage are insane if you're low on health. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, consider liking and subscribing. And tomorrow's guide should be sales, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. See ya.